Joab. He is often identified as the son of Zeruiah, and it is rare for men to be identified as the son of a mother rather than the father. Zeruiah was David's half-sister, which made him a nephew to the king, 1 Chronicles 2:13-17, and was therefore one of David's nephews. Joab's brothers were two of David's brave warriors, Abishai and Asahel. Joab was positioned as commander of David's armies because of his victory over the Jebusites, resulting in the possession of the city of Jerusalem. It was through this victory that Jerusalem became the city of David, 1 Chronicles 11:4-9. Joab fought and won many battles for the king. The Bible never recorded that he lost a battle, but his personal lack of self-control was problematic. In a war against the forces of Ishbosheth, Joab's brother Asahel was killed by Abner, the commander of Ishbosheth's armies. Joab was furious and pursued Abner to kill him, but Abner escaped, 2 Samuel 2:12-32. Later, after Abner swore allegiance to David, Joab's fuse blew. Mercilessly he desired to avenge his brother's blood, which drove him to deceive and murder Abner, verses 26-27. This action deeply grieved David, but the king felt unable to bring justice against the mighty Joab, verse 39. Instead, David pronounced a curse over Joab and his future descendants. May his blood fall on the head of Joab and on his whole family. May Joab's family never be without someone who has a running sore or leprosy, or who leans on a crutch, or who falls by the sword, or who lacks food. Verse 29. As the commander of David's armies, Joab was provided many victories by God, but Joab caused much grief to the king and to Israel. David admitted on more than one occasion that Joab and his brothers intimidated him, 2 Samuel 3:39, and today, though I am the anointed king, I am weak, and these sons of Zeruiah are too strong for me. May the Lord repay the evildoer according to his evil deeds. Joab was a mighty warrior. He was fierce, and the army was very loyal to him. His anger and perhaps the power of his position drove him to poor decisions at times. In addition to his murder of Abner, Joab killed his own cousin, 2 Samuel 20:9-10. And Joab said to Amasa, "Is it well with you, my brother?" And Joab took Amasa by the beard with his right hand to kiss him. But Amasa did not observe the sword that was in Joab's hand. So Joab struck him with it in the stomach and spilled his entrails to the ground without striking a second blow, and he died. This betrayal was fashioned in Judas style, accompanied by a kiss. Joab said to Amasa, "How are you, my brother?" Then Joab took Amasa by the beard with his right hand to kiss him. Amasa was not on his guard against the sword in Joab's hand, and Joab plunged it into his belly, and his intestines spilled out on the ground. Without being stabbed again, Amasa died. Amasa was David's bone and flesh, 2 Samuel 19:13. He was another of David's nephews. Amasa had sided with Absalom during the revolt against David and served as Absalom's commander over the army, in effect replacing Joab, 2 Samuel 20:9-10. Joab disobeyed King David's command to spare Absalom's life, himself striking Absalom with 3 javelins, 2 Samuel 18. Whose method of dealing with Absalom was correct? David's gentle method or Joab's swift justice? So what should Joab have done? It could very well be that David was too gentle. If David spared Absalom, as he had a habit of being way too lenient toward his own children, it could have caused serious problems in the kingdom. Joab seemed to know that Absalom was still a serious threat, and so he dealt with him quickly. But in the end, it doesn't matter whose method was better. Joab had a clear command from God's anointed king. The command did not violate any scripture, so Joab should have obeyed it without question. It doesn't matter who was right, it matters who had the authority. And David did. David mourned the death of his son Absalom, a response that was sternly reprimanded by Joab, 2 Samuel 19:1-8. It was also Joab who, in accordance with David's command, placed Uriah the Hittite at the front of the battle to be killed, so that David could feel justified in marrying Uriah's widow. Joab, for all his faults, was obviously a capable man of war and valiant on the battlefield, and he ought to be given credit for his loyalty to David for almost 4 decades. Joab also counseled David when David sinfully desired to take a census. If David had heeded Joab's advice, he could have spared his nation the plague that befell Israel, 2 Samuel 24. When David was on his deathbed, Joab conspired with Adonijah to install Adonijah as the next king, instead of Solomon, 1 Kings 1. This action, plus Joab's other rash decisions, vengeful murders, and inability to take certain important orders. Solomon had now become king, and even though Joab did not help Absalom try to become king, but he had helped Adonijah. So when Joab learned that Adonijah had been killed, he ran to the sacred tent and grabbed hold of the corners of the altar for protection. When Solomon heard about this, he sent someone to ask Joab, "Why did you run to the altar?" Joab sent back his answer, "I was afraid of you, and I ran to the Lord for protection." Then Solomon shouted, "Benaiah, go kill Joab." Benaiah went to the sacred tent and yelled, "Joab, the king orders you to come out." "No," Joab answered, "kill me right here." Benaiah went back and told Solomon what Joab had said. Solomon replied, "Do what Joab said, kill him and bury him. Then my family and I won't be responsible for what he did to Abner, the commander of Israel's army, and to Amasa, the commander of Judah's army. He killed those innocent men without my father knowing about it. Both of them were